Well, thank you very much, everybody who has joined us. Just on the read out there, the development, you said development science. I think others are wondering what the Master of Science, Development Science should be. Master of Science, Development Finance. I think that was just a reading error. Otherwise, thank you so much, Bonaventure, Mr. Belengwe, for that introduction. Very thorough, and it's an honor for me to be part of this large group of intellectuals that are participating on this platform. I recognize quite a number of you there, and just to mention my pastor, Pastor Chris Maboshe, who is based in Chingola, Bread of Life in Chingola. And of course, my colleague here at Bridges Limited, Wilfred Sakala, can notice you there, and you'll be helping me a lot. This is what I do here is actually what you are doing for the business here at Bridges Limited. And of course, quite a number of you, and we'll chat. Very, very quickly, just as a check-in, I'm looking for volunteers who are willing to share with us what you recognize as the biggest challenge under the COVID environment. What do you consider as the biggest challenge under the COVID-19 environment? Anyone out there willing to share one thing that you consider to be your biggest challenge or the biggest challenge in your environment under this COVID-19 situation? Anyone wants to come out there? Joseph, Morton, Mr. Mambre, Chalwe, Bola Deola, Mr. Mukubesa, Osi, Geoffrey, quite a number of you there, Kenneth Chola, Mr. Kainga, Mr. Kalota, Chisulo. Anybody wants to share some insight?
Yes, if I may just share a bit on that.
Yes, Mr. Chola.
Yes, I think the biggest challenge in the COVID-19 emergency period has been for most of us not to actually do our work. I'm involved in development work as a consultant, but lately I'm unable to do field data collection to enable me provide a service to my clients and in myself some money. So that has been the biggest challenge, as we are not able to interact with our respondents as
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. Another person? Thank you so much, Mr. Chola, for that. Another person wants to share what you consider to be your biggest challenge?
Yeah, I think to me, the biggest challenge has been the cutoff of our traditional communication system that used to be, in most cases, face-to-face. But now, because of COVID, you are unable to meet somebody face-to-face, or you're unable to organize a forum where you sit in one room. So communication had been the greatest challenge to me.
Yeah. Good. Let's get Pastor Maboshe. I'm sure you are there. What about the challenge? I mean, we are hearing about communication and so forth. Another person that wants to share? Pastor Maboshe, what about the church?
Okay, this is Jerome from Liberia.
Yes, Jerome, sure.
Okay, for me, I'm working as an internal auditor with a non-governmental organization, and then I need to review physical documentation. But now the working from home become a major challenge for me. So I need to get documents to look at physically. But now because of the COVID, I don't have the opportunity to go to the office to look at physical document to review. So the office need to scan a bulk full of documents and send it through or share folders to me to review. So I believe that is the challenges that I'm facing as an internal auditor.
Good. Thank you so much. That's from Liberia, sharing about the challenge. Thank you. Can we have one last person? Anybody wants to share from the? Yeah,
probably
Pastor.
I can.
Thank you.
Probably I can come in. Thank you, Mr. Chibamba. Like others have said, on the communication point, it has been difficult, particularly that if I can call our church as an industry, It is all about people to people type of relationship. So number one, it has been difficult to have people because they are not allowed to come. But secondly, then we have these people who are under pressure because in their own personal industries, careers, and businesses, they are not doing well. So then all their pressures, stresses, depressions, then they end up then coming to us because we have to deal with these people who have been hit badly because of this pandemic. So that has been one of the major hits that has come upon the church body, if I may say that.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Unless there's somebody else who want to share something very quickly, as I'm, thank you. Let's, since we have lost a bit of time, we have heard from a number of you that this COVID is a huge challenge for all of us here. It's not only in Zambia, we have heard from cases in Liberia, and I'm sure there are other countries that are participating on this webinar. This is a huge challenge for everybody. And what I want us to share very quickly before we open chance for discussion and questions in the next 1 hour, just for 45 minutes, is to just set the agenda. We'll discuss briefly working capital. Many of you are financial gurus there. I'm actually not I'm not an accountant, but we definitely deal with these issues every day. We look at the art of working capital management itself during the tough times, some of the decisions that are to be made by individuals are quite rough, they're surgical in nature. And basically, how do we improve that working capital cycle? Because we go through a working capital cycle, most of us. I thought that we start with understanding the nature of where we are. Though we are not using the word recession, we are actually in a global recession. Zambia is now projected to grow by -5%, which is a contraction. The economy is going to contract by 5%, which is less. If our GDP is 330 billion kwacha, it means that we're going to grow less, maybe about 325, 320 billion 2020. That is not very good because we sustained growth at one stage of about 7% over a 10-year period. And now to grow by a minus, it reflects a number of things. It all implies that actually there is low industrial output. Companies are not producing as much as they are supposed to be producing. As a result, we can as well say there's a decline in economic activity. And this is not only for Zambia, it's almost every country right now. There's decline in economic activity. The turnaround time for almost every business is very, very low. My own business here, staff are at home. We are doing remote working, and I'm trying to reach some of them by phone. I can't reach them. I don't know what some of them are doing. So you find that we are not moving at that particular speed. So what would take us 1 week to complete, it takes us now 3, 4 weeks. So the impact overall is that companies, number one, retrenching. Part of the business we are doing is assisting companies that are going through retrenchments. And we've got a number of those companies at the moment that are retrenching staff. And those that are not retrenching are not employing. So they are all afraid because of the high level of uncertainty. What this translates to is, of course, low incomes for businesses, for households, for individuals. The biggest challenge I've noticed, particularly in developing countries, like I put it here, the biggest challenge is the lead time in realizing that we are in a recession. I do not think that an ordinary professional who still believes they're getting a salary is realizing they're in a recession. We are still under business as usual. I doubt that many of us have taken measures to anticipate a further continued decline in incomes in coming months. We are living life the way it has been. We are buying food for our homes the way we have been buying before. We are going for entertainment centers the way we have been doing it before. We go for holidays the way we have been doing before. So for many people, it is business as usual. We are throwing money around, giving out money, depleting our reserves in the accounts every day, withdrawing with our ATMs, because we still have this feeling that things will still remain the way they have been. So the lead time in realizing that circumstances have changed and let me preserve what I have is very, very poor among us, because we have never really gotten used to a debt culture where things get worse. And individuals that went through the Great Depression can give you a lot of lessons, how they began to respond to low liquidities in their own homes. Some of them began to make their own bread, began to garden in their backyard to produce their own vegetables. They began to repair their own shoes. They couldn't take their shoe now for repair. They became their own tailors for torn clothes, just to preserve that little amount of money. So they began to do jobs they could not have done before. Why? Is because they are responding to a recession period. And I'm sure that many countries, many economies have people who are awake to this reality, that things may not, I'm using the word may not, because the trend is continuing. We're now hearing about a new wave of coronavirus. So things may not recover as quickly as we thought they would. So this is not only for households, this attention must also be for companies. Companies must begin to make adjustments when you still have that opportunity to make money and able to save that little money, talking to your family, to your employees, that look, things may not be as we think they'll be tomorrow. Can we preserve the little that we have now to avoid going down? And getting into the topic for the day, first of all, again, is to look at what are the, for enterprises, for businesses, what are the interests of every business? Number one is about risk. I do not think that this risk was anticipated. The risk of COVID wasn't anticipated by many businesses. Businesses are very good at risk modeling, and they are familiar to the usual risks, such as foreign exchange risk. That one is known. Political risk, a change of government. Some of that is modeled, and companies take care of such. They begin to put in measures to mitigate such kind of risks. But a risk of this magnitude, where people have to work from home, where the supply cycle is completely disrupted, closure of borders, closure of airports, this hasn't been anticipated. And this is a new risk issue that most investors are caught napping. They really didn't understand this, but they are interested to know how far this will take them. And of course, every investor, every business person is interested in prospects. What prospects exist now and what prospects may exist after. Interestingly, there are some businesses that have seen this misfortune of coronavirus as a great business prospect for them. Some are investing big scale. I visited a factory 2 weeks ago of a young Zambian man who is investing heavily in medicinal infrastructure, making things that not only for the coronavirus period, but things that will go beyond coronavirus, even producing sanitizers and everything else. He is seeing a huge opportunity where everybody's crying. So there, great investors see a brighter cloud in a dark cloud. A return on capital. If you're in business, your interest, of course, is I'm putting money, am I getting the worth return for the investment that I've made? But the focus of the day today is really about the availability of working capital. Is there money which is available? Because cash is the lifeblood of any business, any household, any family. You know, if you're at family level and you got no money, particularly if you're a man, your wife, if you're married, it looks at you differently because cash moves the kitchen. Cash makes things happen in the bathrooms to wash because you need cash to be able to be active every day, for the woman to wake up every day knowing that something shall be available, food shall be available, detergents shall be available, and the school fees for the kids shall be available. And the same thing applies for businesses. Without that cash, you can't move items to produce anything because cash is locked somewhere. So cash is important for the production cycle, for you to procure your raw materials for your factory and for you to be able to get all the ingredients, whatever you need to produce the item, and to also do the marketing, the distribution chains, to run your distribution chains, to get your vehicles on the road, to roll out the products out there. You need cash. You need cash for operations. You need cash for administration. You need cash for statutory obligations, for pension schemes, obligations, for the taxes that you need to pay to the tax person. They will not get, even if you give them a promissory note, the Zambia Revenue Authority or Liberia Revenue Authority will not accept a promissory note. They want cash, actual cash. Even the shareholders of the business, they want an actual dividend in cash. So cash is a very vital thing. It keeps the business running. Otherwise, it is as dead as anything can be. You can even boast about having sold so much. I remember working in an insurance company, and we declared a huge profit that year, but we had no cash to declare as a dividend. Why? It's because premiums are still tied with the client. They had not paid premiums. And we are counting the unpaid premium as part of the profit. No shareholder is interested in knowing that we underwrote business, but premiums were not paid. Cash is the most important thing. So cash is used as working capital because we have got two sides of the equation of your business. You've got fixed assets on one hand, these ones like the properties that you have for your business. You can procure these through long-term loans and capital. I'll come to that because I'll spend a bit more time on that part. And then, of course, working capital. This is about short-term debt finance, something that you can procure. If you do not have the actual cash to facilitate transactions and ensure that the supply chain is non-disrupted, you have to perhaps get overdrafts. That's just one example of working capital. So in terms of understanding working capital, before capital injection in your business, the first thing they do is to plug in unnecessary leakages, any unnecessary leakages. This happens in the home. And right now, I've become a master of the fridge in the house. I'm actually master because we're living in very difficult times. And what do I do now? I check the fruits and all those things, fruits, juices, the expensive things that I buy for visitors, they are now in the bedroom fridge. They are no longer in the open fridge. They're in the bedroom. That is how this is how you have to link loophole, because we've got workers there, general workers who come in, they just help themselves on that. Now I can't afford that anymore. I told them, you earn a salary, you buy your own things for your homes, you can't drink anymore from here until things stabilize. So those things are in the bedroom. And then I visit the kitchen to see leftovers for yesterday. Before we can cook fresh meat, fresh chicken, we must make sure the fridge is cleaned, because they will put things in the fridge, believing they'll eat it tomorrow. And they'll leave it there, cook fresh fish, fresh meat, and the things for yesterday become things for a day before yesterday, and they become things for last week. What happens? They know they've gone bad, we throw them away. That is money, that is cash. So you have to plug in unnecessary leakages. So what I do personally, I go into the kitchen, I go to the fridge and check what was delivered yesterday before we cook in something new. Let us eat for yesterday. We are saving cash. The point I'm driving here is before you inject cash in your business, you must plug in unnecessary leakages. And the leakages can be so many. Wilfred Sakala, who is on our platform here, is a commercial manager. He's a commercial consultant for the company. And his job is to also see where can we begin to plug in and save and save. If it means laying off, he was redirecting some staff away from this business to another business we've created so that we can begin to plug in some nationalize on what we have. So working capital management, therefore, is to control and exploit the cash cycle. You want to exploit the cash cycle because some of your money is tied in debt. And also you want to delay paying. We'll come to that one very, very shortly. So the trick therefore is having just the right amount of money available when required. Now to emphasize this point, I'll give an example of another business I was consulting for some time ago, some 2 months ago. They got a bank loan, a bank over, in fact, it's working capital. It's a bank overdraft, you know, it's more or less like working capital, but to be repaid, I think, over 36 months, something like that. And they got so much money, but the money they needed for the period of time was only 33% of the total amount of money they had applied for. Only 33% was needed at that particular point in time. But they got the entire 100%. And where did they take the 66 amount remaining? They said, because we shall need this one at the end of the year and next year. So we are going to put it in another instrument, an instrument where they will earn an interest. Now, I looked at it. The interest they are going to earn is 20%. But the cost of that overdraft for the same amount of money is 31%. In short, even if you invest that money somewhere to earn an interest, you are losing out. There's a margin of 11% in between, which is a cost to you, extra cost to you. So even if you're going to earn that money elsewhere, you are paying far higher. So the question is, why did you get the whole 100%? Why didn't you only get the 3% that you needed for that particular point in time? These are issues that require a treasury mind for your business. You need a commercial person who can help you think. You do not need all the money that may cost you so much. Only have just the right amount of money that you require at a given point in time. So working capital, in short, is the short-term financing of a business through a combination of various day-to-day sources. And I don't know whether you're able to see this graph here. If I'm not able to see it myself clearly, I don't think you're able to see it, but I'll emphasize some of the key areas that you can see. So the cash part is here. What you need yourself is cash. Unfortunately, some of the cash is tied in raw materials. Some of the cash is in terms of labor. Other cash comes by way of, so you can source your raw materials, can procure labor, so some of it in overheads. But all this somehow translates in the actual stock. So much of the cash in a nutshell is tied up in stock. And the transition therefore is, unless you make the sale, there's no translation to cash. And part of the stock is tied in debtors. People who have bought from you have not paid, maybe they're on a 90-day facility. And this affects your cash. And I'll come back to this issue because it becomes part of the art of managing your liquidity in your business. How can you quickly translate everything that you have into cash? And some of you may need to be very tough now. That's including the pastor. The pastor will need to be very tough in Chingola, that people will not need to postpone the tithes and offerings. They need to pay them on the dot. Because if they don't pay, there will be a backlog. You are running a church and you have to pay salaries out there, and what you need is cash. It's not a promissory note that we shall pay you when money is available. We must unlock some of this. So I'll come back to this one shortly. So I just want to share, in terms of financing, some of the critical challenges in Zambia I've observed, because I dealt with this many times when I was working for Zambia State Insurance Corporation, and my company deals with this one in part. Wilfred Sakala is in charge part of this one. So I just want to provide guidelines on financing, because at times we make this mistake and we end up being in very serious problems. So I will share more about the sources of finance, what you need to know before you access funds, and then very briefly the role of intermediaries, individuals who can help you, especially now. I've been dealing with one bank, and I'll share, dealing with one bank, I can mention here Standard Big Bank, because I do host and do consult for them many times. So many of you have seen me on the webinar with them, interviewing them, and they are really playing a very critical role right now to unlock finance for individuals who are affected by COVID. And they are playing a significant intermediation role to facilitate for something. So sources of financing therefore can be commercial banks and leasing institutions. So Stanbic, again, it's in both of these areas. So they're able to finance most of the companies that are struggling. They want to recapitalize. They know that there will be an after COVID they need leasing facilities where you can use an item without actually owning it. And they're unlocking this opportunity for most businesses that are affected. Okay, of course, we also have insurance companies and individuals, the public. Types of financing that are available in Zambia, of course, there's debt finance. This is corporate bonds. Corporate bonds have been very, very common since 2002. I was very, very involved from that moment, as well as commercial paper. I don't have time to define the two, but I can just give you just an appreciation, because these are the common ones. The debentures are more like bonds, except they have a fixed interest. But I'll share more of this. The corporate bond works in the sense that the issuer, the one who wants to borrow the money, is the one who dictates the terms. The issuer will demand how much money the company is looking for, and they will say, we are looking for such amount of money, and we are looking for people who can invest in this bond, in this instrument, for a defined period of time. So they can even say, we only repay after 10 years, and we'll be paying, servicing this bond twice a year, every 6 months. And we are offering to pay a coupon rate or a rate of, say, 21%. Okay, so they are looking for suitors. So they will advertise this and say, whoever is interested, here's our prospectus, here's who we are, and whoever is interested in this one can invest. So of course, they will go through an intermediary who arrange all this work for them. So people who participate in a bond are willing partners, so that they don't have much of a say. It's only those who feel we like it, we can go in. It's different from a commercial debt from a bank. Because from a bank, it's the bank that dictates, the one who lending you money is dictating how much and how often the tenure. But in a corporate bond, you who is borrowing can dictate the terms. And commercial paper also, commercial paper has become common since 2006. This is a very short-term working capital arrangement for companies that are struggling. And I will reflect this one very shortly so that you understand that you can use it now to improve the circumstances under COVID. Because not everybody is going through stress. Their business is still continuing. And there are insurance companies, there are pension funds that are still holding a lot of cash with them. Government noticed them, by the way. Government saw that most of them are holding money like NAPSA, and they issued COVID bond. And they have since raised about 6-point-something billion kwacha out of 8.7 required. Because they noticed there are some companies that are sitting on cash, and they issued a bond again under the same arrangement. Commercial paper is just simply avoiding the bank. It's a way of two parties lending money to each other. To make it very simple, maybe as an analogy, Mr. X has money and goes to the bank to understand commercial paper. Mr. X has got excess cash and is going to deposit 30 million kwacha in the bank, okay? And the bank will pay Mr. X 10% per annum for depositing his money, 10%. And as he's at the bank, Mr. Y is at the same bank wanting to borrow 30 million kwacha from the same.
Hello. Hello.
It's like his network has frozen or something.
Yeah, I guess so.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, Bonaventure.
Okay, we just have to wait for him. I think his network.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, let me just quickly call him on the sidelines.
Yeah, please call him.
All right, sorry about that. I've just spoken to him. He's reconnecting and is coming in. Thank you so much. I'm just going to unmute him.
I was defining commercial paper, was I? I was defining the commercial paper.
Yes, you're defining commercial papers.
Okay, thank you so much. So, in a nutshell, just to amplify the commercial paper, I was saying Mr. X has got 30 million kwacha to deposit in a bank. And as he's going to the bank says, okay, for the 30 million kwacha going to deposit with us, Mr. X will pay you 10% per year. And before they can see the bank manager, of course, Mr. Y is also seeing the bank manager to borrow 30 million kwacha. And the bank manager says, okay, for the 30 million kwacha, I'll give it to you, but at 30% interest. So at that point, Mr. X and Mr. Y say, look, my friend, me, I'll get 10% for my money. You will be charged 30% for my money, which I'm depositing. Why don't the two of us deal with each other? Whereby you pay me 20% to lend you the money. Instead of paying 30%, you pay 20. Me, I have made another extra 10% because I was going to be paid 10%. So that's more like a commercial paper. That is the way it generally works. It was dealt in Zambia. We had a lot of this activity. I remember ZESCO was able to raise a lot of money in 2008 and 006 for working capital. At one point, they issued a commercial paper they wanted to borrow for 20 billion, I remember that time, and they were able to raise it from players like Zambia State Insurance Corporation. We participated. So this is a common trend now in Zambia. Equity finance, this one I won't talk about it because it's not really helpful during this particular point of COVID. It's not very effective now because it is long term. Now, before you borrow, you need to be very sure about critical things. A major decision must always be made before you can borrow money. A major decision has to be made before you borrow. I don't know whether I've clicked on something else here.
You've clicked on a different screen. Go to the PowerPoint.
Okay, are you seeing it here now?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Oops. What is happening? Okay, a major decision has to be made before you borrow. You must think through a lot, especially during this particular time. Among the questions that you want to ask yourself are, you are an entrepreneur, is your business sound? How long have you been operating? It's important to know because there's a trend. If you have been operating for quite some time, you know the trend of how your business is doing. You are able to support that. By the way, even churches borrow. Our church borrowed money from one of the commercial banks. And what did we do? What they simply looked at was the trend of tithes and offerings. And we're able to borrow to even purchase property for the church. How do you wish to borrow? What is the intended purpose of the funds you are looking for? And you must be very clear about what you want to use the money for. Do you know what you are looking for, by the way? Is it an outright borrowing? Or perhaps you are just looking for a partner to join your business. So you must be very, very sure about what you are looking the money for. Over what time period is the funding required? Are you looking for 1 year? Are you looking for 3? The challenge we have right now is that people are shooting themselves below the foot. They are borrowing, not only in terms of the money they are looking for. Some of them who need to borrow for 3 years, including moratorium factor, but they say because they are desperate for cash, 3 months. So at what cost are you willing to borrow? You must determine, and this is a very important point at this particular time because some individuals are taking advantage of the situation to burden you with a lot of problems. So you yourself must determine beforehand, how much is my business willing to pay as interest? What are financiers looking for? Of course, everyone who is financing you, who is helping you during this time, is looking for security. They will look for some level of security. They also want a health return. They're also looking for for liquidity. You have cash. Because they don't want to hear from you the time you're supposed to pay them. Oh, sorry, I missed it out. I don't have cash to pay you right now. My money is tied up in stock or in debt. They also want to know the tenure over what time period. They also look at the inflation factor. They don't want to lose money, of course. And some of them want to see the economic impact of the project. And this is more, you notice this if you're going to borrow under the 10 billion Bank of Zambia COVID fund. They want to know the economic impact. If it is in tourism, or is it in agriculture? Is it in those areas which are defined in the 7th National Development Plan? So that way they will be able to fund you. So the business reality is that stock on the shelf for a period of time. So you look at the stock on your shelf. This is the challenge we have now as a reality, that there are many businesses that have got too much stock. They are not rolling it over, and therefore there are liquidity challenges. Others are declaring what we call paper profits and not cash. Cash is the critical thing. Others are burdened with huge debts with suppliers. So they are, you know, like I will show later on, you can finance your business through debts also by having suppliers who supply you on credit. And this is one way you can finance your business under the COVID arrangement. It is, you know, it shouldn't be your problem. It should be the problem of the other party, by the way. So you can be unfair to the person who's giving you the money, but you should be unfair also to people whom you have lent, but they should pay you the money. Because you've got cash that is sitting with debtors, people you have supplied to, and they're not paying you. And some of the clients who are paying yesterday haven't even been pushing us for money. We just felt, we said, look, for our credibility, Mr. Sakala, can we pay some of these clients, you know? We got some kind of liquidity here. We have got, they haven't pushed us. They have not come to us to ask for the money. And we just said, look, we know they need it. But there are not many businesses today that will volunteer to pay you without you pushing them. You have to push. So I'll look at the creator financing your data. That's the same thing I was saying here, is there's much more of like invoice discounting, because now you haven't been paid, you go to a third party to pay with the money so that they themselves wait. It's another better deal. You can do it, but you're losing part of your money, of course. Other realities talk, this one is, sorry about that. So the art of working capital management is, please use every kwacha employed in your business to maximum effect. Make sure the money you have now is as productive as it can be. Even the money that you may have as a reserve in the bank, ensure that you get a treasury manager who can effectively use it for profit than just sitting in the bank where you are paid 10% interest per year. With inflation sitting at 15%, you are losing money. That is not a productive use of money. You are putting in the bank as a cash, deposit in a bank, you are paid 10% per year, and inflation is 15.5% per year, you are losing money. It's not productive use of money. Have an effective turnaround time for each quarter you have invested. So your stock must run convert stock into cash in good time. Avoid what I call a lead time crisis, where you borrow money from one side to pay within 1 year, but your stock takes 2 years to run out, to be sold. You are in big, big problems. So only be frugal, be intelligent, be sharp, know what kind of stock you should put in your shelves now. Because not every stock will run now. People are becoming careful with their cash, they are holding on to it, they don't want to spend as much as they spent yesterday. So you must be very sharp. Remember that debtors, especially in terms of recession or hardship, will also not pay unless you press them to do so. I said that one earlier. So I want to be concluding shortly. So improving your working capital, therefore, is increase the rate of stock turnover. I have emphasized it on it. Cut down on debtor days. If you are lending 90 days, please cut it down now. You must negotiate and be tough. Eliminate slow-moving and profitable lines, business lines. Cut them out. There are those that are not giving you much money. We did part of our business right now, which is lead time is very long. We agreed with the team here. We won't do this part of the business for them because the lead time is too long. And we won't survive if we are going to spend energy on that line of business. We will suspend it for now. Offer discounts where you can. And please, billing. There are companies that bill you after 1 month. In fact, me, I bill immediately I finish work, immediately I phone Fanny, who is administration manager, who is doing our finances, and Joy, please, can you bill this client? I'm on the way, I've just finished doing this. Can you bill them now? Now, before I reach the office, the bill must be sent. And three days later, we must follow up and say, where are we with the payment? Okay? And if you can charge penalty for those that are not paying on time. Charge a penalty or some interest. It's a hard time now. You cannot be a charity for other people. Finance the operation without the owner being called upon to commitment of his own funds. In other words, you must buy stock on credit if you can. Negotiate. At times, you don't have to spend your own money in the cycle of your business. Where you cannot spend money, negotiate for longer credit terms while you are negotiating for shorter data terms. It works. In conclusion, therefore, in terms of turning around your business, become a surgeon. Cut out the non-productive people, if you can. Products, services. Cut down on debtor days. That's the way you can improve your liquidity. It's working capital management. There are cases where you may even need to fire staff and cut your payroll. Deadwood must go first. They may probably have been the cause of where you are now, especially during the time of, some are finding a window to be lazy, to stay at home. They're not doing anything. This is a time to cut them off if you can. I mean, it's a harsh time. I know Pastor Maboshe may not be very happy with what I'm saying, but this is the reality, Pastor. If people are not working and it's tough, instead of the whole business sinking and failing, you identify the canoe will sink. You must throw out some goods. No, actually, Pastor, the Bible is very clear. Is it in Hebrews 12? You know, put aside every weight that may stop you from reaching your destination. That may putting away everything. Manage for cash. Generally liquidate, produce cash, including stock. So cash, cash, cash. Sell on cash if you can, as much as you can. Sell for cash, not less than 30-day payment. Okay, if you can, hire an agent to help you collect money. Sit down with your suppliers and perhaps with your bank. Explain your plight if you are going through some challenges right now. What are you doing to survive? What are you doing to pay them off? Maybe you want to extend payment for the bank that I can't manage to pay you now. In fact, Stanbic Bank, they told me the clients can go and they have challenges. They can do moratorium. You can pay ahead of time, not now. You can suspend the payment for at least 6 months or 1 year to give you some kind of relief. They will simply ask you maybe to pay the principal or maybe the interest. Mainly it's the interest. They will ask you to pay only part of the interest and the rest will be paid later when things stabilize. Things are not easy now, okay? And finally, which is the tough one, at times, you do not have to wait until things get really, really bad, where you even fail to salvage anything out of your business. At times, it is better to liquidate your business. If you feel like, I think here, if we wait any longer, the creditors will be on us and they will take away everything. Why don't we salvage something, liquidate the business, take out something, and settle debt somewhere? We can start again sometime in future. So, well, this is the worst case scenario when things have become very tough. So we've got about 2-3 minutes, just in case some people have got questions or some areas of discussion. Anybody out there? Thank you. Anybody? Mr. Bonaventure, maybe you can coordinate this part, just in case.
Sure, sir.
Yeah.
So we are going to allow for a few questions. Those who have questions can unmute their mics or raise up their hands, then you can ask, or you can type under the message, then we'll be able to read the message, and then our speaker will be able to respond.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I joined a bit late. So I think I'll watch for now, then I'll hear what the others have to say.
I'm not alone, by the way. Wilfred Sakala will help me respond some questions in case there's anything.
Yeah, sure, I'm available.
Good.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Smutami.
Yes, I'm running a business on the Copper Belt, and most of the business that we are doing here is with the mines.
Yeah.
But what we have observed is the mines are holding on to, I would say, cash. I think I heard you earlier where you said for you to improve, is it on the working capital? Is it cash? For you to have it, you try to hold on to the cash. I want to believe that probably the mines are holding on to their cash, and this actually is seemingly the general trend on the Copper Belt. Yeah. But then in terms of operation, we've seen the graph of the copper going up, copper price. The fear is that you can probably want to downplay that you are operating low, trying to maybe send your workers back to their homes, and yet all of a sudden things kick back into operations as quickly as possible. How can you ensure that you still catch up with the speed? Because that's what I'm trying to foresee that is likely to, maybe that could come soon. How do you catch up with the speed? How can you be proactive where you stay at the same speed? While we at the present we are all conscious, try to be very protective of our cash, but then in terms of decision making, one has to be very swift and very effective up to the point. Then how can you ensure that you apply the cash flows as well as the monies when things start picking up? Thank you.
Wilfred, yeah, Wilfred, do you want to respond to that question?
Yeah, I'll make a comment, and then you can also add to the comment. Firstly, he talked about the cash being held. And what I think is that you have made a comment that for the business to live, it needs the liquidity. That's the bloodline. So there's an option that you can make. Do an invoice discount. You won't lose. You might lose a small percentage, but you have enough money to reinvest into the business that it runs healthy. Secondly, is an issue of the last comment, talking about when you maybe cut off people and then things turn around and you quickly have to bring them back. Mind you, when we talk about cutting off people or laying off staff, there has to be a condition and the process of how you lay them off. First, you examine the value and the cost of laying off that staff versus the time that you need to keep them off the business. Once you do that analysis, you'll understand which staff goes at what time and which staff you return. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wilfred. So the concept of invoice discounting is how most of the people who supply to the mines are doing it. And there's some, of course, Focus Group was very much involved in that, but they got affected because of the same they are under. But there are banks that can do an invoice discounting for you. It's an opportunity cost already for you because you're not getting the money. However, even if you lose part of the money because you have discounted it, it's still better off than you being owed, because those mining companies are financing the operations based on not paying you.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Another final question, since we have still have a minute or so.
May I ask, maybe I might be off topic, but may I still ask a question?
Sure.
I'm currently working on a magazine. I have been creating it for some time. It's centered on the arts. So so far I've been able to collaborate with different artists from Zambia and Africa, and it's been getting some interest by different people. What do you think about going into the industry of art, and how can you further that that industry.
You know, I don't know whether I get the question right, but
Yes.
in terms, you want to take art as a business?
Yes, as a business to help artists that are coming up, and also just to find a platform where they can take their art.
Yeah, what we don't have in Zambia, just very quickly to answer the question, are two things. We don't have what we call matchmakers. Matchmakers are very common in South Africa. Matchmakers are the intermediaries who play the role of helping you. They are like Bashibukombe, those who are in Zambia know Bashibukombe, who polish you up and then arrange a partner for you. So we don't have those people. But because of globalization and things happening today, most of these activities that were strange before are becoming very good business. And those who go early into an issue become the front runners. You become the pioneer in that area in Zambia, and once you get the territory, you are the one to win. So I encourage you to go into it because it's becoming very common. The other thing we don't have in Zambia are managers. We don't have managers. And the reason we don't have managers of artists is because artists are impatient. I won't use that term we use in the bridges here, but it's a very interesting term. Okay, let me use it. We call it a mampi. And so when I say a mampi, people in the company know what it is. A mampi is something that has got no contract. Yeah. It's a deal where some people phone, Chibamba, can you come and talk to us today? Where are you? We are at Independence Stadium, we shall pay you 2,000. Okay, no problem. Now, when you bring a manager wants a contract. And Zambian artists don't want managers in between. But we can't avoid this going forward because you will never be wealthy. And no artist will ever be wealthy without a manager, because the managers manage you not for food, they manage you to invest for the future. So I will encourage you to get into it. You know, it may be very low and appetizing initially, people may not welcome it, but once you consolidate yourself, you will have a lot of business. Even if you have got 20 people, that's a lot of money for you.
Yeah, I've actually been, I approached an agent. They're actually based in America, and they're managing Zambian artists. And they did tell me that certain pieces that these people would sell for maybe a very low cost, when they would manage their work,
they make money. They make money. Yeah. So since your signal has gone off, you should access my book, which is coming, Business Values for Our Time, which is the expanded edition. Some of you read it when it was first issued, 2010, and it's really talking about the prefaces in that particular area. And you'll love it when it comes out. It's with the editors now. So, Bonaventure, do you think we still have time for one more question, or we can conclude now? I think it's now 14 hours.
Yeah, this is now 14 hours. Maybe if there's any burning question, we can have it, and then we'll wrap it up from here.
Sakara has got a question.
I think I've got.
Can we
Hello.
have the last one? Then...
Yes, mine is more of a comment, but then you can help me through it. And mine is more of a comment, but you can help me through it. I'm a part-time worker for a church.
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually supervised by Pastor Chris Mawosha. Hello? Yes. So as a church, we've been looking for land to expand.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, it's a bad time for a lot of players, but then maybe it's an opportunity for us to expand in that sense. We can get cheaper land. What is your advice? How much of a commitment should that be right now?
In terms of getting land?
Yes, we are a church, we would like to expand. I think you have been to Chingola Bread, you are aware that we are struggling with parking space.
Yeah, yes.
Should we, is this an ideal time to invest in acquiring land for expansion of the church?
The rule of the thumb is invest when things are looking bad. That's a very strange one, isn't it? The rule of the thumb is that you invest when things are looking bad. You invest when everybody's selling off. The time to invest in the land is now because people are desperate for cash. They are willing to offload their land at a very cheap price because things are looking bad. Even banks, interest rates are not increasing as much now because they don't have many clients right now. This is the time to borrow, by the way, when things are looking bad. The rule of the thumb really is you need to go in when things are looking bad. To use an analogy, since there's no woman here, I can guess, and I want to be very gender sensitive, the best time to marry a woman, as Mabosha knows this, I like it very much. The best time to marry a woman is before anybody wants her. Because even the parents-in-law will simply say, get her, because they think there's no demand for her. But not when everybody's going for her. Everybody got money, they're doing well, and you go in, you pay a premium for it. So I would advise the church, this is the best time to buy land because people want cash.
Thank you very much, sir, for that.
Thank you. I enjoyed this participation, and I wish I can have more details with the brother from Liberia. Mr. Bonaventure, can you get his email? Because I like those from other countries for other collaborations.
Sure, I'll get his email and then we'll forward it to you so that you can have a further discussion.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Right, in conclusion, we want to thank everyone who participated in this webinar. We have another one next week on Thursday at the same time. This time it will be the current challenges and the solutions, where we'll be talking about encouraging out of the box thinking by the corporates to this global problem of COVID-2019. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, and we wish you well, and we wish you God's guidance. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
God bless Zambia.
I know Godfrey had, also Geoffrey had a question, but we have left now. Sorry, Geoffrey, next time.
Thank you so much.
It's fine. Thank you so much.